You've probably noticed this. Not all keyboards are the same. In the US, it starts with QWERTY, but in France, it's AZERTY, and in Germany, it's QWERTZ. So why didn't the world just standardize one layout? It's not random, and it's not just about preference. It comes down to early machine design, language differences, and systems that became too established to change. The most common layout today is QWERTY. It originated in the 1800s with early mechanical typewriters. But why was it designed this way? To understand that, we have to look at the physical limitations of the machines themselves. To understand why QWERTY looks the way it does, we have to go back to the very first mechanical typewriters. And they had a major problem. Back then, every key was connected to a mechanical arm. If you typed two nearby letters too quickly, those arms would physically collide and jam the machine. So, the QWERTY layout was intentionally designed to separate the most commonly used letter pairs. The goal wasn't to make you type faster, it was to slow you down just enough to keep the machine working. It was a triumph of engineering over speed. QWERTY wasn't built to be the most efficient layout for humans, it was built to make the machines usable. And once businesses and schools adopted it, the layout became deeply embedded. But not every country followed the same path. What happened when this technology hit France? The French twist. So if QWERTY started in the US, why didn't everyone just use it? Because different languages needed different layouts. Take France, for example. Instead of QWERTY, they use AZERTY. This wasn't random. It was adapted for the French language. French uses different letter frequencies, and it relies heavily on accents that change meaning. So the keyboard was modified to make those characters easier to type. For example, A and Q are swapped, Z and W are swapped, and keys were adjusted to support accents. This made typing French more practical. But once AZERTY was adopted in schools, offices, and government systems, it became locked in, just like QWERTY. In Germany and parts of Central Europe, the layout changes again. Here, you'll find the QWERTZ keyboard. The most famous difference is the swap between the Y and the Z. But this wasn't just a design preference. It was a language necessity. In the German language, the letter Z is used much more frequently than Y. Placing it in a more accessible position made typing faster and more efficient for German speakers. The QWERTZ layout also integrated critical special characters like A, O, U, and the ESET, making it a tool perfectly optimized for the language. And just like its cousins, once this standard was adopted across Central Europe, it became deeply locked into the region's culture and technology. But if we know all these differences exist, why don't we just switch to one universal layout? At this point, you might be wondering, why not just switch everything to one universal keyboard? The answer is simple: lock-in. Once millions of people learn a system, it becomes very hard to change. Schools teach it. Businesses rely on it. Software is built around it. And people build muscle memory over years. So even if a better layout exists, switching would create massive disruption. Everyone would have to relearn how to type. Systems would need to be rebuilt. Productivity would drop. So instead of changing everything, the world kept what it already had. That's why QWERTY, AZERTY, and QWERTZ all still exist today. So when you look at a keyboard, you're not just looking at a layout. You're looking at history. QWERTY came from mechanical limits. AZERTY and QWERTZ adapted to language. And all of them stayed because of lock-in. Not because they're perfect, but because they were adopted early, and changing them became too costly. And this doesn't just apply to keyboards. A lot of systems around you work the same way. They exist not because they're the best, but because they were established first and never replaced. Next time you plug in or type a message, remember the history in your hands. Thanks for watching our series.